Proud of our team. Not much left to say after my post-game comments. Everything that I saw on film was pretty much what I saw during the game. Extremely balanced in all three phases in terms of winning the football game, and when you can have good production in all three phases, obviously really good things happen. And so proud of the offense for getting the run game, giving it some life a little bit, and hopefully we've got some confidence in where we're headed in that direction. And then obviously our defense for the last couple weeks, really the last 6 or 7 weeks, has been playing at a winning level, and that's really encouraging. So injury updates, Sam Ellinger and Zach Shackelford both practiced yesterday. Tennille Carter did not. He will be evaluated again today, and as you know, with those concussion deals, it's a daily evaluation process, so won't know if he'll even practice or anything until after he's evaluated today. And then P.J. Locke is very doubtful for the game with an ankle sprain, but we feel encouraged that after this game we would have him the remainder of the season. Questions?
On the right, Ricky? You mentioned feeling better about the run game. Obviously, Tennille's status is up in the air, but if he is healthy, did he and Daniel show you enough that you'd go with them as kind of the lead backs moving forward?
I mean, I lead back, I don't know that there is one for us right now, but I think they definitely seized an opportunity to create more reps for them and more carries, and that's encouraging. The one thing I said on the conference call I thought both of them did very well was they played with good vision, and they broke tackles. And when an offensive line blocks a play for 3 or 4 yards, but you're getting 7 or 8 or 10, that's really good. What's even better is when an offensive line blocks it for 0 and you get 3 or 4. And I think that's where they showed some effectiveness in our offense. So, but I don't know that there is a lead back right now.
Over 8 games, you've had Sam play. In 4 games, you've had Shane play. In another 4, how hard is that for an offense to get in rhythm because of those injuries and because of that constant rotation? And is there part of you that would like to maybe just have a guy just ride it out for the next 4 games to kind of develop some of that continuity?
It has been hard. I mean, it'd be foolish of me to say otherwise. The one thing is they're not complete departures from each other. We're not talking about a guy in Shane who's an excellent passer and is a statue, and we're not talking about a guy in Sam who's an excellent runner but can't throw the football. Obviously one guy's a little stronger in one area than the other, but they're not it's not limiting in terms of the offense. I do think there is a rhythm, there is a continuity factor, especially in the throw game with the receivers and timing and all of that. So to say that we'd like one to ride out the next 4 games, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Now, is that realistic? I don't know. Recent history tells me it's not. So, but I think that would be ideal.
Middle, Bob? With some of the results Saturday, you guys are just a game back from top of the standings in the Big 12 right now. Is that something you'll tell your team and talk to your team about? How do you approach the Big 12, winning the Big 12 title still out there for you guys? How do you approach it?
I don't. We won't talk about it. I think one of the things we did so well this week was really get back to our mantra of being 1-0 and treating Baylor as if it was the most important game on the schedule. And we really believe that, and we believe that this week against TCU is the most important game on the schedule. And I made that mistake before. we lost to Navy last year after being ranked 5th in the country or whatever, and I wanted to give our guys hope. And Navy was on our side of the conference too, so it was going to take a couple losses on their part, and we harped on, hey, we got to take care of business, but if we do, then, this is a great conference, and Navy's going to get knocked off a couple times, yada, yada, yada. And then, kind of the perfect storm 2 weeks later in Dallas with the announcement of the Big 12 not expanding, and then SMU coming off a bye week, and probably, to be honest with you, myself and our staff focusing on some things we shouldn't have been in terms of the big picture. We went up there and laid an egg, and so I'm not going to let that happen again. I think the biggest thing that we've got to concern ourselves with right now is playing against one of, if not the best team in our conference.
You're on the left, Nick. You got two young quarterbacks who have both dealt with injuries, both been in and out of the lineup, both dealt with inconsistencies when they've been in. How have you sort of managed their emotions and expectations? Been trying to see through both of them.
Credit to them. I haven't really had to. Two great kids that just want to win, and I know that sounds cliched, but I've been a part of some different places where the head coach can get up here and say that, and then you go back in the locker room and that's not reality. But with this one, it is. It's reality. Both guys just want to win. I think that was very obvious in Shane's preparation when he wasn't playing, and to be able to go out and have the game that he had after being on the shelf for as long as he was. There's been very little management other than a couple, me telling Shane I appreciated him and how he's handled it, the couple weeks that he wasn't playing, and the first game that he was somewhat healthy, at least cleared, but didn't start, which was SC. I reminded him early in that week that at some point your team's going to need you, and they're going to need you to be engaged throughout the course of however long it takes for you to get back in, and he was. So management of those two guys has been really, really easy.
Middle, Ed.
Coach, are you prepared to name a starting quarterback today, or will you keep Gary Patterson in suspense, or will you announce a starting quarterback midweek?
No, I think probably the only silver lining to having those guys banged up, and both of them having played very well at times, is that we don't have to. We don't have to name a starting quarterback, and unless college football has gone to the NFL, we don't have to say anything about our depth chart. And so that's the only silver lining that we have. I think, by Wednesday or Thursday we probably should know internally, but I think that's for them to figure out.
Your left, James.
Tom, you guys recently moved Drew manager back up to the box. What's kind of the reason behind that, and how has that gone for you guys in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I thought I answered that last week, but it's gone well. Didn't go near as well as we thought it would against Oklahoma State. Nothing did offensively. So I'm not saying that was the reason why we played poorly. There was a lot of things. But I think it's been the one thing that has been really good is, there's two guys up there that have called plays and have seen the game from the press box for a lot of years. Drew at, what's the one in Virginia that he was? James Madison. There we go. Thank you. I kept wanting to say VMI. I don't know why. James Madison, and then at Rutgers. And so I think where it's paid the biggest dividends and will continue to is when our defense is out there and I'm clicked over on the headset and dialoguing with the defensive staff and paying attention to what's going on there, is that there can be some really healthy conversations in terms of adjustments and all of that. So to this point, I think it's gone well, and hopefully will continue to.
Middle, Roger.
Tom, what do you see out of the TCU defense? Seems like Gary Patterson's got that unit after turn into a run and gun offense
Yeah, this is, I kept looking, and it's number 1 in the Big 12 in passing defense, number 1 in rush defense, number 1 in total defense, number 1 in scoring defense. And, I look and I see, 5 of their 8 games this year, they've held their opponents to 14 or less points, 4 out of those 8 to 7 or less. And so the one thing they're doing is they're keeping people out of the end zone. And I know that sounds very elementary, but they're doing a great job in red zone. They're doing a great job on third down. I don't know that there's a superstar on their defense, and I think that's probably the way Coach Patterson likes it. They get production. I think both their defensive ends have right at exactly 4.5 sacks. They've got other guys that can pressure the quarterbacks. I think, their leading tacklers, 1, 2, and 3 are all within a couple tackles of each other. So it is a very well-balanced defense that gets production from a lot of different areas. And then, as has been the case with TCU for many, many years, they can run. They're really fast at all positions.
Tom, I know Iowa State played a different quarterback than they're playing now, but do y'all draw strength from y'all's victory over that team way back when? And is this the best you felt about your team all year?
Yes and yes. I do think, winning on the road is really hard. Winning on the road against a really good team is really hard. Winning on the road against Iowa State in Ames, Iowa is really hard. And then winning on Thursday night in Ames against Iowa State when they're really good is really, 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 really hard. And we did it. And so I think there is a level of confidence. I would even, I think we're confident in the way that we played against Kansas State. And, that was a team that was a preseason top 25 team that had their quarterback not gotten banged up. Who knows where they'd be in this race right now too. And so, and I think you draw confidence from, even the 2 games against the teams from Oklahoma that, we're right there. And, we can see the other side of the wall right now. We've actually got a little sunlight coming in through it right now after what we were able to do in Waco. And so now, my confidence is at an all-time high, and I think our players are too.
Back left, Chuck. Tom, the last 3 seasons, pretty lopsided in the TCU-Texas matchup. In a situation like that, even though the teams are different, do you review those 3 games previously? Does that provide anything? And do you address at all with this team what's happened the past few years? Do you feel that's important?
Nah, I don't think any of that's important. I think most coaches would tell you that. And for us I think it helps offensively and defensively to look at least last year's, because some of the personnel will be similar to what you're playing with or playing against, and just kind of see schematically what they were trying to do offensively against your defense and vice versa. But every team is unique. Every season is unique. I think there is some added motivation for the guys that have been on this team for a while, the juniors and seniors, that they've been embarrassed by this team, and they don't want to be embarrassed again. And this is an in-state conference team, and we recruit against them. We see them all over the place all the time, and I know our guys, a lot of them, played with or against a lot of the guys on their team, and kind of ran around in the same recruiting circles as they were coming out of high school. And so it's a big deal when you play another team in our conference that's from the state of Texas.
Back middle, Steve.
Coach, not much that said, at least you haven't addressed, about Holton Hill's play when you started the second quarter of the day, when the screenplay really made a difference in the game, I thought. Can you talk about
It was like 4-on-1, right?
And also, you used the pitch option against Oklahoma down on the goal line a couple of times, and we haven't really seen that since then. Is that something you're doing just game to game, or situation to situation, and we're not seeing that a little bit more?
You talking about like the true like double option pitch off the one that's usually kind of a blitz answer for us, and so when you're getting some goal line zone defense, it's not as good. And I think too, we eliminated every quarterback run, for the Baylor game plan, simply because, we knew he was going to scramble a couple times and take some hits there, and have to keep it on a zone read here and there. And so I think that was maybe the biggest thing against Baylor was kind of their front and coverage didn't lend itself to maybe in the previous games, but also just trying to protect him. And then, I think Holton is playing at a really high level right now, and we need him to, especially with the stretch of potent offenses that we have played and will continue to play here down the stretch. And so we need him to continue to play that way.
The left, Trent.
Coach, two questions. First, do you have an update at all on how close Connor Williams you think potentially getting back on the field? And second, based on how the top 10 team TCU on Saturday, do you get the sense from your guys that this is another one of those games that you could potentially bring through a little bit considering the close calls you guys have had this year?
Connor Williams is close. I think next week would be optimistic, and the following week might be a little bit more realistic. But we'll see. He finally started going out. In fact, this morning doing on-field drills, and putting cleats on and actually changing direction, cutting, planting, all that stuff. And so we'll see where he's at with a full week of doing those drills. And this has been a wild stretch to go prior to Baylor, 6 straight weeks of teams that were in the top 25 when we played them, or had been in the top 25, and that's a meat grinder. And then to go to Baylor on the road, and then have to come back and play your 3rd out of 4 weeks against top 10 teams is another part of the meat grinder. But I think I do. I think that our guys are very confident in where we're at. They're confident in the lessons that we've learned in the close ones against the teams from Oklahoma. And I would be foolish to tell you that we feel differently now than we did going into Oklahoma State game. I think if you asked any player on our team to give them truth serum, they would tell you, this is the week. This is the one we're going to break through, and we didn't for a lot of different reasons. But I think we feel that way again this week, certainly.
Stand left, Chip.
Tom, what specifically was it about Todd Orlando that caused you to hire him as defensive coordinator at Houston? When did you know after hiring him that you hired the right guy, and why is he good at what he does?
What caused me to hire him? You snuck 3 questions in one there, Chip. That was good. What caused me to hire him was, one, results. In preparing to be a head coach, I knew what kept me up at night as an offensive coordinator. And our offenses being similar to what most are in the country today. And it was the multiplicity of fronts that, some teams, can be in an odd front one play and then 4-down front the next, and then a bear front the next, and different coverages and all that. So that multiplicity was important. And so I scoured the country on, I literally just, as a coach, especially a coordinator, you are what your numbers say you are. And, just looked at the top guys in the country that were playing, base 3-4, but were very multiple with it. And then, highlighting some names that, am I going to go get Dave Aranda from Wisconsin at the time to come to Houston? No, I'm not, and I love Dave. But, here's a guy that's at Utah State that might be able to convince to come help us at the University of Houston. And then when I knew, I mean, within minutes of the interview, you know, I had already previously watched a lot of his videos, so I knew that matched what I wanted to do. And then just when I had him flown to Columbus, Ohio to interview with me the Sunday after we beat Alabama, I mean, it was lockstep in sync with the philosophies that I believed in, to not only play great defense but to play championship level football too. And so that was a no-brainer after spending you know, a few minutes with him. And then what does he do so well? I think what Todd does is he takes your strengths away. That was very evident. We pride ourselves in our rush defense, but we knew that if we sold our soul to stop the run against Oklahoma State, that thing could get ugly as well as they could throw the football. And so we adjusted and, you know, played an unbelievable defensive game. And so that's the biggest thing is he's going to stop your strength or make it extremely difficult for you and make you play left-handed.
Middle, Roger.
I'm going to join the two-question party. Cade Brewer, has he embraced the blocking, a guy that was such a great receiver as a high school kid, just something that he hasn't been used to, and have you seen the progress there? And then do you move Gerard back to receiver with Sam back at practice?
Yeah, I think the sky is the limit for Cade Brewer. I really do. The only thing that he's limited by right now is size and strength. I mean, because the want to is absolutely there. The tenacity, the embracing of the physicality of that position. Really, really football sharp kid that's got excellent ball skills in the pass game. And so the desire and effort is, all of that is there when it comes to blocking. Now he's going to need a whole nother year of eating and gaining some strength and size because, I mean, mass and strength are important in the trenches. You know, the bigger you are, the harder it is for somebody else to move you, and the easier it is for you to move somebody else. And that's what, when you boil football down, that's what it is. It's a game of getting another human being to go somewhere he doesn't want to go against his will. And that's really hard to do when you're 18 years old and you're coming fresh out of high school. But I think our offensive staff has adapted a little bit. And, you know, are we going to run power with him blocking the defensive end, you know, 30 times a game? No, we're not. So don't ask him to do that. You know, that's not his strength. And so I'm excited about where he's headed. And you know, he's a great kid to be around. And then Gerard will be practicing with the receivers and hopefully get himself back in that lineup.
Tom, after interviewing some of your players for several years now, I mean, you can really hear it in their voice, their confidence level. Talking about defensive players, especially Malik and Menahu, guys like that. I want to ask you, what are you noticing behind the scenes, whether it's with T.O. or whoever? You've been around good teams, but do you see things in Moncrief that make you think, hey, these guys get it, these guys are on it? And my other question is, how long do you expect to keep T.O.?
The one thing I see is they're present. And according to people that have been here in years past, that's a market improvement. You know, these kids are here all the time on their own. And they are offensively too, but the defense especially. And I think there's a certain importance to your best player playing really well. And right now Malik Jefferson is playing really well. And when he plays as hard as he's playing and as physical as he's playing, that trickles down to the entire defense. And then you see, obviously you have to see results if you're going to embrace a different way of doing things. And so those results have then now snowballed into, well, let's do more, and let's do more, and let's do more, and let's go harder, and let's be more physical, and let's run faster. I think, there's plays throughout each game that are embodiments of, the way that we're playing defense right now. One of them being, again, the goal line stand against Oklahoma State and first and goal at the 1 and not just folding up and letting them in the end zone. And then there was a play, I don't know if you guys remember it, but where Malik was out in space either with the running back or one of the slot receivers, and he made him, break down and change direction. And here comes big old number 97 running as full speed as his big body can allow him to. And this is a guy that had sprained his ankle a couple weeks ago that was actually quarantined. I know that sounds dramatic, but in his own bedroom and not with the team Friday night before the game because he had a stomach virus. Was up at 5:45 a.m. and then Malik's got him. He's got his hands full out there in open space against a skilled athlete. He makes him break down, and here comes 97 running 20 yards away as full speed as he can to clean him up. And it makes my heart smile when I see things like that, because that's those things don't happen without belief, without confidence. And I think they are wearing their role on our team like a badge of honor. They are. There's no secret that they're carrying us right now, and they like that. They want that responsibility, and that's encouraging. How long we're going to keep T.O., I don't know. We'll talk about other jobs in the off season. I've said before I want all our guys eventually to go be head coaches and run their own program and spread their wings and do their own thing. And the beauty of it is that we have provided Todd with the resources to be very, very selective when that opportunity presents itself, and something we won't even bat an eye about until the off season.
Coach, when you looked at the film, what did those young running backs do so well to maybe be so productive in the run game, or was it the line? Just what did you see there? Then to add in for everyone else doing the second question, because Malik and Holton and Deshaun are playing at such a high level, when do you sit down with those guys to kind of discuss if they're going to stay and come back for their senior seasons, or go pursue their NFL aspirations?
The running backs, as I said, but I think just vision and breaking tackles, running hard, running with leg strength, and decisiveness. I think that comes as a part of vision, is seeing something, and whether you saw it wrong or not, I'm going to go take it, and maybe I was wrong, but because I took it so hard, I made 3 or 4 yards. And if I was right, Tennille's touchdown run, and even the one that got called back for the holding call, it's be decisive, and if you're right, you're going to be right in a big way. And so I think that's, and then obviously, there's no secret. We played well. We played better than we had on the offensive line. We matched up well with Baylor, but we played well and we played consistent. And then as far as the juniors, I don't. Those discussions will never, happen until after the season, and B, there's only been 2 juniors that any pro scout has even asked about, and that's been Connor Williams and Malik Jefferson. So, we'll have those conversations in due time.
Time for 2 last ones. Alex on the left, and then Anthony.
Just one question here. There were a few personal fouls and scuffles in the first half on Saturday. Did you bring that up at halftime? It's a long loss.
I brought it up very emphatically and passionately. In fact, the halftime speech went something like, we had to call a timeout coming off the sideline on offense because we couldn't get lined up. We get a field goal blocked. We had 3 personal fouls, and we're up 21-7. So grow up. Grow up. It's time to grow up here in the second half. Because if you want to let them hang around, keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to shut the door, let's grow up. Let's button up. Stop with all the lack of focus issues, and let's play big boy football in the second half. And they did, and it was good to see. Personal fouls are difficult because there are some that are more egregious, I think, than others. One on Chris Boyd on the punt return deal where he blocked this guy all the way out of bounds. The guy gets up. He thought Chris kind of just lost where he was. The guy gets up. He hits him again, but he was actually touching the white. That is, by letter of the law, that's a personal foul. We got to do a better job with spatial and field awareness and know where we are. But it was born out of aggression, not anything, lack of focus or selfishness. And so I think you have to look at those on a case-by-case deal. I think Malik got a personal foul because he didn't know where he was on the sideline the other week when, he tackled the guy and kind of threw him to the ground after they had been in the white for a step or two. And you just say, hey, man, you got to do a better job of knowing where you're at. But it was addressed very emphatically.
Brace yourself. Last one for Anthony.
Hello.
Big day tomorrow, Coach. Happy Halloween.
Thank you. It's Maverick Herman's 4th birthday tomorrow, too.
Happy birthday to Maverick. Coach, what's your favorite Halloween candy? What was your favorite Halloween costume you wore? And what's the scariest movie you've ever seen, and why?
Ooh. Favorite Halloween candy, I'm not sure. There's probably only a few specific Halloween candies, right? Like candy corn or whatever. So I'm just going to go candy in general. I'm a Milky Way guy. I love caramel and nougat, I believe is what they call it. Favorite Halloween costume? A couple people have asked me that. I don't really remember. As a kid, I think I did the whole sheet with 2 eyes, like a ghost, and a couple different ones. Don't have anything really that memorable. And then scariest movie by far for me was Something Wicked This Way Comes. It was a Disney movie, actually, I believe, and about this carnival guy that I don't know if he's the devil reincarnate or something, but that movie growing up, even to this day, you throw that movie on right now, I'm probably not watching it. So, all right, thank you.